Hello everyone, my name is Alex. I'm a 2000 rated over-the-board chess player, and in this series we're trying to climb to 2300 rapid elo while explaining my thought process as best as I can for your education and entertainment. Here we have a Vienna game, not a Vienna Gambit, which would occur after knight to f6. And I actually have a video that I uploaded yesterday where I played the Vienna against a national master. Definitely worth checking out. My opponent goes bishop c5, and believe it or not, black is already in trouble because black can't actually get away with copying us very easily because of queen g4, attacking g7. And this is actually really scary for black to play because we already have a ton of pressure on the king side, and we also have ideas of knight d5, for example. Hopping in to attack c7. If the queen comes to f6, we will also be attacking the queen. And there are lines like if queen f6 in this position, we can just play knight d5, sacrificing the pawn on f2, allowing the queen into f2, which looks insane, but white is actually better in that position. And while, the white position is very scary and you have to be very careful, white is still absolutely fine there. So we'll see what my opponent goes for. I mean, I think most of the time I see the move g6, since it seems to be the, I suppose, safest way to defend. And I think, practically speaking, it probably is the safest way to defend. But white still has a very, very nice position after queen back to f3, where we, again, attack the black pawns and basically say that black will have to block with something on f6, and because he has committed the pawn to g6, there are vulnerabilities on this diagonal. We can exploit with bishop g5, knight d5, and we can just, kind of ask a lot of questions about the black position. So my opponent is thinking a good bit here. Something tells me that he is not familiar with the theory at all in this position, which, I mean, is fair enough. It's one of the reasons I like the Vienna is that it's not a particularly standard opening. People will study the Roy Lopez, the Italian game, the Four Knights, the Scotch. But do people really study the Vienna from the black side? I don't think so. I think people probably consider the Vienna to be sort of a C-tier opening and that it doesn't require extensive study. Okay, my opponent goes king f8. King f8 is a move. King f8 is a move, and I mean, black is okay here, to be fair. It's not a bad move at all, because he is threatening d5, attacking my bishop and attacking my queen. Now, you can't go d5 in this position, because we take on g7 and threaten the rook, so of course we'll happily give our bishop for that. So yeah, we basically just have to watch for d5, so I'm pretty sure queen to g3 is a very easy way to deal with it. Just stepping back, keeping an eye on the e5 pawn, the g7 pawn, and kind of just getting out of the way because we don't want to be swarmed by black's minor pieces. And now, we kind of are level in development. We've played 2 moves with the queen. Maybe that isn't optimal. But practically speaking, this is completely fine for us. So, okay, we see knight to f6. We've got to watch for some knight e4, and pawn d5 center fork tricks. So, I mean, I actually don't remember exactly what we're supposed to play here, but d3 seems perfectly reasonable. So, d3, knight h5. Is that annoying? Queen g4? Nah, that's probably fine. We just have to watch for the safety of our queen, basically, and make sure she's okay. We are, of course, watching for knight to d4 as well, going after the c2 pawn, which is weak because our queen is no longer defending it. In that, if knight to d4 is played, we may be forced to play bishop to b3, defending and allowing my opponent to get rid of my strong bishop, which isn't that big a deal because black has already had to make some major concession by playing king to f8, so I think that's a fair trade-off from our perspective. And I'm also just relatively familiar with these positions. I want to get castled. I maybe want to offer a trade of the dark squared bishops as well. That might be beneficial to us. And at some point, I probably want to execute the move f4, but I have to watch out slightly for knight h5 stuff. But okay, we do see knight d4. And I mean, king d1 doesn't really make a whole lot of sense to me. Although, actually, wait. Can we just take here? I'm sure I've actually seen this position before. I know that's really random, but I swear I've seen this position before. And I'm pretty sure we can take on e5, because if knight c2, king d1, knight a1, we can take on c5, pawn d6, and we're going to be winning the knight in the corner. So I actually don't understand how black justifies this. Wait, is it d6? Taken d6, is that the idea? We don't have queen d5 threatening mate because the knight covers. Yes, okay, and then we will have to drop back, and then we will lose the pawn on c2. Tricky from my opponent. Is there any other way to go about this? I'm just thinking if there's a way we can sack the pawn and it be justified. Like, can we go bishop e3? No. No, I'm overcomplicating this. Let's just go bishop back to b3. Let's just go back. And we are threatening to take on e5. So now I assume d6 will be played. And although black has a decent position, like, black's position is not terrible, I also don't think it's all that impressive. I mean, mainly because of the king on f8, right? Like, yeah, I have wasted a little bit of time with my queen, which has left c2 undefended, which has forced me to drop my bishop back, which isn't ideal, but I have good central pressure. And again, the king sucks. So, alright, we do see pawn d6 as expected. I do have to watch out for some knight to h5 stuff now that I can't go to g4 anymore. So I am watching out for that. Let me think a second. I do always have queen g5, but I don't really want a queen trade, do I? That wouldn't be ideal. So maybe bishop g5, just stopping the knight from moving. That seems like the easiest option. Hold on a second. Bishop g5, h6? How do I deal with that? Because if I drop back, then simply g5. If bishop g5, h6 takes, knight d5. Oh, no, there's no tactics on f2. My queen is covering. Okay, so if here, knight up, you probably have to cover c7, I would assume. So queen back to d8. c6 is coming to kick my knight out. That's not terrible, but I'm not sure I want to give away my dark square bishop. But do I have a choice? Because knight h5 is quite annoying. Maybe I can go queen h4. Maybe I can go queen h4, pinning the knight to the queen, which is a pin because the queen is undefended. Which also covers h5, right? That's kind of interesting. And if something like h6 preparing g5, I can always take, because I take the rook. Okay, it does feel very convoluted. I don't really want to be moving my queen again. That's the only problem. So, okay, what if I do go knight f3, which is the move that I probably want to play here. So if I go knight f3, or maybe knight e2? Oh, maybe knight e2 makes sense. Oh no, if knight takes, then I have to take with a knight, and I don't want to do that. What if knight f3, knight h5? Queen no. Queen g5. No, he can take on... Well, he can take on f3 with check. I take back. He takes my queen. I take back. I'm just not convinced that that is, like, amazing for us. If knight g to e2, knight takes, knight takes. There's no d5 because I always take, right? And if here, 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 and knight here, I can just go queen to f3 because now it's not guarded. So if here and here, what was my plan? Queen g5, queen g5, bishop g5, knight e2, knight e2. Then I don't have the doubled f pawns. I'm also covering f4. h6. Bishop e3. Take, take. f4 is well covered. Bishop e6, take, take, castles. King e7. I don't know. This is tough to evaluate. My opponent's playing some good moves here. It's okay. I think queen h4 is probably the way to go. And I'm just going to play it because I'm wasting far too much time. I mean, I spent 4 minutes on that move. Fortunately, I did have the time to spend because I was quick in the early stages of the opening. But to me, this feels like it solves all my problems. It takes away knight h5. The knight can't move in general because the queen hangs. There's no good way to attack my queen either. So it feels like she's very, very well placed on h4. And now I can just continue with getting rid of this knight in some way, getting castled, either kingside or queenside, and game goes on. I can also consider moves like knight d5, which are actually... That's actually quite a big problem. Because again, you can't take because of take. And I have bishop g5 on the way. So that's actually problematic for black, you know. So maybe he has to go c6 to stop knight d5, but that is a waste of a move. Okay, we do see h6, but h6 doesn't make sense because this can't be played because I take. I mean, I could go knight to d5, but I guess just c6, and then if taken, 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 take, why am I trading everything? That makes no sense. h6 doesn't do anything because you can't play g5 because I take it. And if you take, the rook hangs. So perhaps we just continue with like knight f3. Do we want this trade to open the g file? Go bishop e3. I quite like that. If he takes my bishop, yeah, I don't think that's a big deal. I don't think that's a big deal. Maybe the knight is better placed on e2, but I don't think I mind the double pawns if he does give me double pawns. If he takes and goes bishop g4, do I go h3? I mean, if take and take, I'm happy. I get the open g file. If he drops bishop back, g4, bishop g6. It's interesting. It is interesting. Again, I do have the open a file, which is useful. He does have this bishop still. Maybe I just play like knight to a4, getting rid of the bishop. Perhaps that's the way to go. Or maybe bishop e3, because then there's no g5 anymore, because the bishop's on g6. A lot of options here. But I do think h6 was a bit of a waste of a move. Unless he's just terrified of bishop g5. Although, again, I mean, this isn't actually stopping bishop g5. I can still play it. Although you do have king g8. And then I have to take, because otherwise you will take and the rook will be defended. Maybe lining this up isn't a good idea, but okay. Take, take. My opponent wins the bishop pair. He goes a6. Okay, that keeps his bishop on the board. I can go here. I can go here. If here, I don't want to take. That doesn't look very appealing. I could castle. I could go h3. Just keeping this bishop out of the game. Bishop e3 looks very tempting. If bishop g5, king g8. Oh, I actually can take. Oh, I can take that. Because if queen takes, pawn takes, I have knight d5, and I win a pawn. I mean, it's a bishop pair versus a knight pair, but the position is quite closed. Ooh, okay. Okay, that's interesting now. So bishop g5 looks to be the way to go. Again, if take, then take, and, I mean, I'm up an exchange. Which is why h6 I do think was just a waste of a move. By the way, if you're enjoying the video so far, please drop a like and subscribe if you haven't already. I'd really appreciate it. I suppose a smart move for my opponent is probably c6 immediately, stopping knight to d5 altogether. That would make a lot of sense. In fact, how do I respond to that? I can always drop my bishop back, right? Like, wouldn't be ideal to be shuffling backwards and forwards, but it's not the end of the world. If c6... How do I want to play that? I could go knight a4, force the bishop back. No, okay, he goes rook g8, which is great news. I think. So now he is threatening to take. Can I consider this? No, probably not. Take, take, there's no real compensation. So if taken queen takes, pawn takes, he is attacking g2. And if I do throw the knight in, he takes with tempo, which isn't ideal. So, maybe I just drop back and say that you're wasting your time. In fact, that's what I'm going to do. That's what I'm going to do. Because now the rook makes no sense on g8. Because... And also, the knight is still pinned to the queen, and g5 still can't be played because h6 now hangs because the rook is misplaced. The rook is also stopping the king from marching over here where it would probably like to go. So this is a bit of a weird... It's a weird position because we're kind of jostling... We're jostling for like small positional ideas, even though it feels like we should be blasting things open and throwing tactics around. And although, you know, taking is still interesting after queen takes, pawn takes, it's still an interesting position. I mean, obviously I have like g3, for example. I can attempt to just shut the rook off. But I don't think that's the best way to go about this. I feel like we should just calm down a little bit and massage the position. Okay, bishop e6, stopping any knight to d5 ideas. d4 looks very nice. But then again, so does castling. Now, this knight can move now because the queen is defended, but there's not a whole lot of places for the knight to go. Do I want d4 immediately? There's no way to punish my king for being in the center just yet, right? So if I go d4, and we have taken take, I mean, it looks good. But there's no threat. Also, he can't really stop d4 unless he plays like c5. But that creates its own issues, I think. So I think I'm just going to castle. Again, g5 can't be played because I take. And at the end of the day, his king just sucks, right? His king is just a big, big issue. Again, I feel like I should just focus on maneuvering. Like, maybe I try and get my knight into f5, sorry. Maybe that's a good idea. Okay, my opponent gets queen e7. Okay. Not in... Is he trying to run the... No. Not with the open A file. b4 looks tempting. Pushing for b5. Interesting. King h1 also looks decent, just getting the king out of the way. d4 again looks nice. If taken take, don't mind that position. My queen is defended by this knight, so I'm not too worried about any discoveries. Let's go d4. Let's go d4. This feels correct. This feels like the right moment to open up the position. Now my king is safe. And yeah, again, g5 still can't be played. And the black pieces just don't harmonize. They don't harmonize with each other. The rooks are disconnected. The king is badly placed. Now, if you were somehow able to teleport the king to h8, the position's probably okay for black. I mean, I'd still say we're pushing, probably, just because of our central pawn blob. and, I mean, generally well-placed pieces. The rooks are on open files, the queen has lots of targets, the knights are on their ideal squares. I'd still say we're pushing, but the black position would be a whole lot better if the king could teleport to h8. That's not how chess works, though. That will not be possible, and, you know, you can't even go like g6, king g7, because this hangs, right? So maybe you have to go rook h8, g6, king g7. Like, maybe that's the plan. I mean, still, it's not foolproof. I still have lots of ideas there, not to mention the immediate break in the center. I mean, if g6 is played, sorry, if rook h8 is played preparing g6, I can look to play a move like knight d2, for example, stopping g6 because the knight hangs. Maybe g5 has to be played there, and I go queen back to f2, and you go king g7 defending the knight. I mean, maybe that holds? I don't know. I don't know. But I do like this. I certainly like this, and I'm, of course, watching to see whether I can get away with knight d5 and whether it is viable or not. But we don't want to do it too early. Not when this bishop kind of sucks and my knight is pretty good. And it has lots of prospects. Lots of prospects. So this is just a strong position. Now, I need to make sure that I stay good on the clock, because that is my downfall typically in this rating climb so far. So that will be a key thing to keep an eye on. Yeah, I was just seeing whether the black can get away with sacking the pawn and starting a counterattack, but no. No, there's no way. Knight takes, this knight's hanging. That's not going to work. And there's no rook h8 anyway, because it's undefended. So, again, we see the problems of the black rooks not being connected. If black was able to queenside castle in this position somehow, the game would be completely different. I mean, I still think we have good attacking chances, but it would be completely different. Okay, we see bishop g4. All right, then. Taking doesn't seem to make sense. Do I go h3, encouraging him to take me? Rook takes. That looks pretty strong in my opinion. If here and he drops back, do I push? I'm actually going to say no. I don't think that does make sense, because e4 is a little bit weak. I don't really want to lock the center with d5. Okay, then. If knight d5, knight takes, pawn takes. I don't really think that helps us. What about rook a5? Just applying some pressure. e6 maybe. And then why am I over there? Yeah. If knight here... Hold on a second. If knight takes, I can take the bishop. Ah, but then he takes on e3. So no, that's not good. Maybe I do go h3. I mean, if takes, then I'm happy. Rook takes, and I double up, and that's brilliant. But if here... I'm not so sure. I mean, g4, bishop g6, knight d2. He can take, though. And then e4 is a problem. Okay, I'm just going to throw in h3. Again, I'm overthinking this. I need to just play quicker. He may just take, in which case I'll be very happy. And if bishop back, we'll figure it out. Probably rook a to e1, just supporting e4, I would say. Also preparing some ideas of here take and take if the bishop retreats, because then e3 wouldn't be hanging because it would be defended. And then if the knight drops back, queen f5 looks pretty good. And I feel like we're pushing there. Okay, he does take. Yeah, cool, brilliant. Now we're going to get the f-file. Now I don't mind locking this up so much, but I think I don't want to commit to that just yet. Again, if take can take, I'll be really happy. That would be amazing. Whoa. But this is defended. G5 I take here, and then I take the knight. This is starting to look dicey for... Oh, that's a good move. That's a good move. Okay. So he's offering me a queen trade, of course. And if I take them, my queen is hanging. Sure, interesting idea. Okay. Trying to see if I could sack my queen and mate my opponent somehow, but no, that's not going to happen. Now, can I ignore my opponent? Well, not ignore, but can I play something like Queen h5? Knight takes, pawn takes. Can't take the mate, and if g6 I take on h6, and if rook 2 e8, rook 2 f1, that looks pretty good. Forcing f6. But then this is hard to defend. Maybe I can push. And if I just take here, knight takes, rook over, pawn up, e5. Oh, yeah, that looks really nice. Let's just do that. Let's just do that. Bring the pieces to the party. And to be honest, I think black just gets overrun here. Because he's only playing with one piece, really. So yeah, my plan is... I mean, f6 is the only move to defend, right? And then e5. I mean, maybe you can go take f5? Maybe? Still seems incredibly dangerous. If f6... Yeah, I mean, I should be going e5, shouldn't I? Take, f5. G4. G6. Maybe knight e4. Looking for knight f6. Or perhaps just a simple rook d3 or rook d1, going for another target. I think we've got a lot of options here. And I'm going to try and move quickly now. We may not win material here. Like, there is a very real possibility my opponent finds a way to defend everything somehow. But, again, like I was saying earlier, his pieces are discoordinated. Okay, my opponent goes f5 immediately. Okay, sure. Take and take. Does that help? I don't know. Oh, no, sorry, that's idiotic. That's idiotic. Do I go e6? Do I go g4? G4, g6. I mean, if I take, then he will take back with discovered check, right? So my idea would be knight e4. Maybe take knight e4. Let's go g4. I like this. I'm trying to weaken some squares. I want targets for the knight. And e6 is still a possibility if I want to play it. You know, maybe create some pawn chain, just digging into the black position. It's possible. G6 looks to be the only move to me. And I'm obviously not going to take because he takes back with discovered check. And I'm letting him out a little bit. Like rook g5, maybe. I mean, I probably have ways to deal with that. But I just don't want to let him out. Okay, we see de5. Sure, that looks valid. So I should probably take back. And now this is the position I was calculating from the start. So on g6, I can go knight e4, looking for knight f6, which I do think has some merit. But to be honest, I'm probably more tempted by rook d3, just trying to infiltrate. Because if this knight has to move, my knight can come into d5, which seems more fruitful to me. If here, and he unpins, maybe by e8, bring the other rook over. Well, I am protecting this pawn, actually, so I'm not sacrificing anything, am I? And he can't force open the lines. Yeah, so I think we switch the focus. Rook d7 is a major threat. So I'm just going to be getting way too active. So, okay, let's say king f7. Probably rook fd1, stopping rook d8. And you literally just can't stop me from infiltrating. And if I infiltrate, then knight d5 is a major threat. These pawns are problems, the knight is a problem. Okay, king e8. Okay. So again, I think we just bring the rook over to stop this. And if taken take, I'm not too fussed. We also get access to... Well, that's far more powerful now. Maybe I should have considered it in this position, actually. I probably should have. I actually probably should have considered it. Oh, no. The knight hangs. What am I on about? No, that was the right decision. That was the right decision. Okay, so let's say c6. Let's say c6. To be fair, e6 actually looks incredibly strong. Just shutting out the black king entirely. But then again, kind of as Magnus Carlsen often says, like, you can only move pawns forwards. You can't move pawns backwards. So committing a pawn is a big, big decision. This, however, looks losing. Let's bring the rook in. Line, like, I mean, there's so many. King e6. Can you get away with that? Also, can I sack my rook? Take, check. Looking for this. Hold on. King f8. I feel like I'm getting too fancy. I don't need to get that fancy. Okay, what if I just take? What if I just take? If you take, then check and I win the knight, right? So if take rook here has to be the idea. Has to be. I don't know. I don't know. Do I give this check? Take. Do I? No, I don't take that, do I? My opponent's making this a little bit complicated. Do we have knight a4? Looking for knight c5? I mean, the king is almost trapped. If rook d8, knight c5. Sorry, you can't go rook d8. Of course not. Knight a4, b6. Rook takes, rook over. Let's just grab the pawn. Let's stop overthinking. Oh, well, that just loses the game. I mean, I suppose the knight is hanging no matter what, but let's just do it like this. Yeah, I could have just grabbed the knight immediately. I'm not actually sure what my opponent was thinking there. I thought the whole point was to bait my rook off of the d-file and play rook d8. I thought this was the idea. And if something like take and take, no, take and take and take to go rook d2. But I suppose I just have maybe check, take. But still, I think this is interesting because the king can try and get in, right? I thought this was the plan for black, but apparently not. Anyway, very interesting game. Let's jump into the analysis and see what the computer has to say. Okay, so 93.1% accuracy for us, 81.2 for my opponent. Let's jump into it. So e4, e5, knight c3, knight c6, bishop c4, bishop c5, and queen g4. And yeah, this is a very difficult position for black to play. And you can check out my full Vienna Gambit, Vienna Game guide on YouTube if you want to learn more about it. But King F8 is the best move. It's very unnatural, and obviously it took my opponent 2 minutes to find it. But, oh, hold on, I actually messed up the next move. So I went Queen G3. Actually, the best move is Queen F3. Oh my god, I know this position. How did I mess that up? I know this. So, the reason I mixed up my theory is because normally after G6, Queen F3, this is a very powerful position, right? Like, Knight F6, Knight G to E2 stopping this, D6, H3 stopping this, and after something like castles, for example, we are basically winning after D3, bishops coming in, knights coming in, the game is almost over. Well, kind of. But King F8, I, for some reason, thought that after Queen F3, Queen F6, I mean, this is fine. I just have Knight D5, take and take, and this is just much better for me, right? I'm on the front foot. And if Knight to F6, I think this is where I stumbled in my thought process. I obviously go Knight G to E2, stopping this. And if D6, I go H3, stopping this. And here I'm fine. I'm absolutely fine. D3, maybe Bishop E3, maybe Bishop G5, castles. This is easy. I, for some reason, just messed up my my moves. But, okay, Queen G3 is not losing. It's just not that good. So, okay, Knight F6. D3 is inaccurate. Wow, Knight G to E2 has to be played. I think I was concerned about Knight H5 for some reason, but I just have Queen F3. And there's no Knight D4. So I don't know what I was concerned about. But okay, D3. Knight D4, Bishop B3, D6. My opponent's playing very well. Queen H4 is inaccurate. Wow. So Knight G to E2 is the way to go, which I did consider. I thought that if takes and knight takes, that this looked a little bit silly. Although if Knight H5, I just have Queen F3. And if Knight H5 immediately, I go Queen G5, Bishop G5. I just didn't really want a trade of queens, to be honest. I mean, it's something like takes and takes, H6, Bishop D2 I have to find to maintain an advantage. I don't know, this is interesting, but Queen H4, not the best move, but I do think it's tricky. And H6 is inaccurate. It doesn't actually do anything. The engine wants A5 or Bishop E6. But okay, my opponent goes H6. We go Knight to F3, offering a trade, and he takes on B3. And this looks very good for black to get rid of my strong bishop, but the engine really doesn't like it. The engine would rather black just ignore me entirely and play A5. And if I play takes to take with the E-pawn, and after Knight E2, go A4 and try and chase my bishop around a bit. And then go for D5. And then bishop... Okay, no, this is ridiculous, though. Trying to trap my bishop, basically. This is not very human whatsoever. And I mean, you don't even get the bishop anyway. I can get back to A2, and I'm still defending. And then Queen E7, pinning the knight. This is not natural. So my opponent takes on B3, the far more natural move. So AB3, A6. Because if my opponent plays something random, like, okay, not random, but let's say Bishop E6, I have half an idea to just go Knight A4 and try and grab the bishop, right? And if, like, B4, C3, the engine wants B5, which is actually a good move, to be fair. But let's say Bishop A5, B4, Bishop B6, and something like takes and takes. Oh, not immediately, because I'm in no rush. I can actually develop first. But I can just grab the bishop, basically. But okay, A6, Bishop G5, not the best move. Knight D5 is better, according to the engine. So again, you can't take because of this. And if C6, take, then Bishop G5. Ah, right. So yeah, you can't take because of take, and you can't take because of take. Queen here, and then bishop back. So I avoid a queen trade, and if takes, I have mate. Oh, I didn't see that. That's pretty cool. So the engine wants F6. And then after takes and takes, I think it's clear that we're better now because of the pawn structure. My knight probably hops into C4, if possible. Engine likes Queen G3, Hg3. And my knight has lots of juicy targets here, I think. So, okay. Bishop g5 from me. Rook g8. I did think c6 would be played, and it is the best move, stopping my knight from coming to d5, but my opponent goes rook g8. Bishop back to e3 is the best move. Lovely. Take and take. Bishop e6, castles, and now we are building some momentum. Queen e7. d4 is the best move. Lovely. Bishop g4 is the best response. I go h3, which is inaccurate. Because of takes. Wow, so bishop h5 is the best move. Now, I did think g4 was wrong. Yeah, because I have to take, otherwise this is going to become a problem. And here, to be fair, I wasn't entirely sure what I should do. The engine suggests queen g3, which I saw as an option. Just putting more pressure on e5. And if rook e8 defending... Ah, there's knight h4. That's quite nice, actually. That's quite nice. Okay. So bishop f3, rook f3, but ed4 loses the game. My opponent has to go knight d5 first, offering me a queen trade. Here I don't see a need to go for a queen trade, so I keep the queen on the board probably. And if takes and takes occurs, if you take, I can double the rooks, and this is very powerful. f6, ed4, if here I have checkmate coming up after some moves. I mean, I'll at least win the rook, and I mean, probably just grab the other one, but I have lots of moves here. But ed4 played. We go ed4, knight d5 best move, and here taking is a mistake. The engine really wants queen h5, and I considered this. I saw take. I know you can't take because of this. I know g6 hangs this, so I'm aware of all that. I think I saw f6, and I was like, okay, I have e5. Take and take. I think I missed the fact that the queen can't take because the queen takes and the f-pawn is pinned. I think that's what I missed in my calculation. Because that involved me also realizing this was an idea, like, from this position. I didn't quite clock that. So, okay, had I seen that, I probably would have gone queen h5. So I chose to trade, which isn't the best. But we still have a lot of pressure. I mean, we're still better, right? Rook af1, f6 only move, e5 best move. My opponent does go f5, which is the best response. g4 is okay. The engine prefers take, knight e4, which I considered, but just rook d8, and I don't see my plan. Oh, now g4. And if g6, knight f6? No, not knight f6. Rook e1. Okay, well, I can't really explain this, to be honest. I don't quite understand. Well, okay, no, if king there, then I get it. We take and take, right? But what if something else? Like, I don't know, king f7. Okay, then I have to find king f2. I don't really understand what our plan is. I prefer what I did with g4. Take g6. Rook d3. I thought this was a good idea because it's kind of using the law of two weaknesses, right? Where I've created weakness on the king side, right? I've created some problems over here. I have this strong passed e-pawn. And now, by encouraging the trade of the pawns, by the way, the reason my opponent trades is because if he doesn't and plays something like g6, then I will take, most likely, and play knight e4, kind of actually going for what the engine wanted before. But here I thought maybe I can infiltrate via the c-file, although I guess it's probably just knight d5, actually. So maybe I'm just an idiot, but okay. We have de5, g6, rook d3, king e8, rook fd1, only move to keep the advantage. And here I think we are just... I think it's almost impossible for black to hold this from a practical perspective. My opponent does play the only move, though, king f7. Only move. If you do anything else, like rook f8, for example, and I go rook d7, and let's say you take, and I take, I mean, what does black play? I'm threatening this. So let's say you go rook f4. Here I can take, and then I have a fork, which is quite nice, right? So you can't go to f4. You can't go here. You can't go here. You can't go here. You could go here. Probably just king g3. Sorry, g2 even. And the rook just gets kicked all the way back. I can go e6 if I really want. Forcing the rook up. Again, I have take, and check. Although, that seems slightly risky to me. Oh, there's knight c7. Okay, no, that's not risky. But even if I don't find that, like, just rook c7, and I'm winning, right? So my opponent finds the only move. King f7, I go rook d7, infiltrating, and king e6. The only chance to hang on. And here I was slightly struggling. I did find the best move, knight a4. I didn't play it, I found it. Oh no, it's actually not the best move. But there's just b6, and I didn't really see why my knight was here. I mean, yes, I can take here, but like... So? I don't see my idea. I also considered, can I sack the rook and go knight e5? I came to the conclusion that that doesn't work. Apparently king d7 is the only move to make the position better for black, which looks ridiculous to a human, but okay, sure. But just rook c7, it is the best move, and I really just thought my opponent was going to go for this, and I was going to grab here and have to take and take. I figured I should be okay. Like, if rook over, there's knight e3 according to the engine. Oh, because that covers c2. Ah, right. And this is just winning. Interesting, interesting. But I also think there's ways for me to go wrong. Like, if I take, for example, the game is equal. After take, king takes. Sorry, I have rook e7 there. Let's say, okay, rook d2 is a... Yeah, rook d2, I saw that. And if, like, I give a check, for example, and takes, I could be in some trouble with the king coming in. This is what I thought my opponent was going for, but he just gives me a knight, and I grab it. So that's the game. Very interesting game. I hope you guys enjoyed. If you want to learn how to play the Vienna game, the Vienna Gambit for yourself, check out this video up here. And if you want to see the previous episodes of the climb to 2300, check out the playlist down there. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in one of those videos.